Okay, alright. I don't know. This is, of course! And who's doing this, man? We're fucking here. So many fucking steps, my god. Yo, what up, you? Welcome to the ArtistPro show. Why is the microphone so fucking loud? Yo, there are so many steps to this. What up, you guys? How y'all doing? What up, you guys? How we all doing? What up, you guys? How we doing? Welcome to the ArtistPro show. Welcome to the show. What up, you guys? Welcome to the show. Oh my god, why? Yo, what's going on, you guys? Welcome to the show. All right. Yo, check it out. We are live. All right, check me out. Stupid? Alright, whatever, dude. Really, nothing I can do. I mean, I could do some stuff. I mean, in retrospect, do I really need 4K? I don't think I need 4K, dude. Welcome to the ArtistPro show, ladies and gentlemen. It is good to have you guys here, and we are back for our second show. As you can see, I'm in 1080p this time. I paid for the upgrade. Shout out to James Shen for supporting the stream last week to help fund that, and that's exactly what this show relies on. Relies on y'all to come kick it. I'm taking a look at my audio, my video. Again, this is only the second show, so if we're looking good, sounding good, let me know in the chat. I see some familiar names. I'll get to you guys shortly. But first things first, yes, indeed. Welcome to ArtistPro Live. Every Monday here live on YouTube and Twitch. We're also simulcasting out to Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, soon Instagram as well. If you guys saw the promos that I talked about last week, we are covering the subject of networking. We are covering social capital. We are covering the little not so dirty secret of real success in entertainment for sure. Make no mistake, just the entertainment industry in general. But of course, music falls under the umbrella of entertainment. And who you know, and as you will learn in this particular episode, what you can do for them is pivotal to getting ahead and further and building longevity in this industry. So today we are covering networking. I hope you guys submitted your questions. It's not too late to do that, actually. If you do want to submit any questions or anything in particular, there's that little QR code right up there in the corner to submit your music, to submit your questions, to submit really anything. There's the link right there. It just takes you to theartistpro.com if you want to submit your stuff there. So by all means, go ahead and do that. And so let's get some housekeeping things out of the way here. Reminder of how this whole show works. Artist Pro, for those who are not familiar, Artist Pro does represent the totality of music artists operating as founders in their creative industries. To be a music artist, an independent music artist, you absolutely need to assume the role of a founder of an enterprise. Do we not? We need to diversify our skill sets, and we need to understand how to operate our own business to the point where we can scale it to allow others, team members, which is part of networking. Spoiler, to come and take over and help us with various components of the business. But Artist Pro, as the name pretty much entails, is not Music Maker Pro. We are Artist Pro, and we'll talk about in future episodes what the artist archetype looks like. And of course, professional being the combination of the professional outputting artist. That's Artist Pro. This show definitely covers a wide range of topics, but we do want to make it focused on you guys. So again, it's all about the questions and the songs that you've submitted. And this is the first outlet of Artist Pro for the time being. For those of you guys who might remember the previous incarnations, it was online courses, it was events and local community stuff too. Right now, we are keeping it as a free show, but do stay tuned for upcoming releases, educational material, events. And I do want to shout out all the returning people and the new people who are here now. Thank you for being an early adopter of the show. You will be rewarded. So keep coming around, keep sticking around, and it'll pay off for you guys. And one final reminder to please submit your questions, links, etc. I got some stuff from a few folks this week. This week, we're going to hear music from Grim Fables. We're going to hear music from Coon. We're going to hear music from Chris Kane, as always, and Alurum. Also, once again, submitting music for us to check out. So thank you guys for submitting that. If you do want to support the show, which definitely goes a long way, right there is the QR code to submit any donations you'd like to submit, you guys. It is a free show, but as we all know, things cost money. And in order to keep this thing a priority, I'd like to have you guys support the show and make this very much yours. And as a reminder, also, it's not just all going to me per se. The more you guys put into the show, the more attractive guests I can bring on, not physically, but the bigger hitter names, I definitely want to compensate people who are donating their time to us. So as the show grows, the doper it'll get. So please support the show if you can. And if you can't, another way to support the show is simply telling a friend to join the stream. In fact, if you can, go ahead and text a friend or two to join the stream, submit their music, join the fun, talk about networking. It'd be greatly appreciated. And of course, if you can, just like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that little crap that everyone kind of plugs. It helps. We plug it for a reason. So please do me that favor and like the video, subscribe to the channel. It really, really, really does help. Okay. That being said, let me just take this off the screen. I want to shout out to James Shen. What up? Welcome back. Oliver Blue, welcome. Saizon in the building. All right. We did get a question from Saizon as well, but no music, dude. Come on. The links were right there. You know what? Too bad. I'm going to pull up some of your music anyway, so you have no choice. All right. Majdi, what up? Good to see you. You made it. And Mike Warner, again, as always, in the building. We appreciate you, dude. So, I think we should just get right into today's discussion. I do want to talk about networking as I quickly refresh. All right, I got some more submissions here. Thank you guys for doing that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am going to quickly move into the lecture right off the bat and screen share my little presentation. All righty. Okay. We should be good. I'm going to hide out over here. All right. I'm going to full screen this. Hopefully, you guys can still see it. We are talking about networking today, building your social capital. So, I know it's one of the most frustrating things, you guys, because we've all had that experience of like, well, so and so's music isn't as great as mine, or so and so isn't as talented, or whatever it might be. There's that frustration, and of course, if you just look at anyone's Wikipedia over the course of time, you'll notice, a lot of our favorite artists and influential people have had a lot of help. Sometimes in the form of nepotism. Sometimes people are just born into it. And hey, you can't hate those people. What do you want them to do? Not be born and not pursue what they want to pursue. But I think the key to this is so powerful in that it is networking is so critical. But I think a lot of people don't do it the right way. I think a lot of people approach networking as kind of something. Oh, how do I describe this like gently? Well, I think a lot of people are leeches. I think a lot of people approach this whole subject as like what's in it for me and kind of what's only in it for me. And it's very frustrating. So I do want to talk about other ways to not only increase your odds of meeting the right people, but also how to be a good networker and one that comes off authentic. That being said, I'm quickly just going to exit here. All right, cool. Let me know in the chat if you guys have any issues with the video. I just want to triple double check that everything still looks good. It looks like it does. So back to the show. Okay. I want to talk about a few basic topics when it comes to networking. The first and foremost, and sadly, this is the most obvious one, but I think for a lot of people, they do need a refresher. You got to be seen or in your scene. Okay. Now, these are obviously two distinctive concepts here. But yeah, you guys, the first thing is really like if you're just making music in your bedroom and like, no, you're not going out, you're not online, you're not interacting, you're simply just not going to meet people. And this extends not just to networking for business purposes. You realize this also extends to friends. Obviously, as I've gotten older, I'm in my mid 30s now. It's not as easy for people in my age group to meet people, oftentimes because they're so busy with work. They go to work, they come home, they eat, they sleep, they go start all over again, or they're with a significant other, they're married, whatever it might be. And I think the same thing applies for just meeting people. So in the same breath that we're talking about networking, another thing to keep in mind is we're talking about just meeting people. So just think about how, if you don't go anywhere and you don't position yourself, you're not going to meet anybody, man. So I understand some people don't like to play the online game. They don't want to be the ones commenting on TikTok and Instagram posts, and we'll talk about that kind of stuff. But at the same time, these are the same people that just don't go out. So like you wonder why you don't meet people, and then the people that you do know are the ones that you just met from the very beginning, and your bubble is very limited. So at the very least, you guys, you need to be seen, and ideally within your own scene. If you do belong to a scene, typically one that's around like a niche genre of some kind. But whether it is physically going out to places like events, clubs, networking events, being on this stream technically is a form of networking. On that note, everyone in the chat, do me a favor and drop your Instagram or TikTok handles or wherever you want to connect. Throw it in there because everyone who's on this stream technically is networking right now. And the more interactive you get, the better you are. So you could watch this show passively and not say a word, and no one will know you exist. I do this all the time. Mike Warner in the chat can vouch for me on this one. I'll go to people's live streams just like this, or show or whatever it might be, and I'm firing away in the chat, dude. Not just because I want to like spam people, but I have things to say, And I know a lot of you guys have things to say too. Sometimes I gotta yank it out of you in the form of literally saying like, "Please post your Instagram in the chat now." But and in a situation like this, that's a great way to be seen. And I'm not just saying that as a way to kind of get some cheap engagement here, like a lot of people do. No, dude, like say something in here, have something to say. You might spark a conversation. You might spark a dialogue. At the very least, you will get your name out there. Same thing applies for when you're scrolling through Instagram or TikTok. Are you passively just watching, right, and liking things? Or are you in the comments? Are you in the chat responding to people, especially over a long enough period of time? Your name will appear familiar. And the same thing applies for getting into Discords, YouTube comments. I'm telling you guys, I have met people in the YouTube comments. Okay, so the most obvious thing I can say is sometimes like the hardest push, which is just be seen, be visible, be seen, go to events, don't stay home. I can't tell you how many times, especially as I've gotten older, or it's a Thursday night, I'm tired, it's raining, I don't want to go to this thing downtown. But then I always come home being like, thank God I went. I met some clutch people, especially if it's a congregation of music professionals. So the first thing I got to say right off the bat is be seen. And if you can, be seen within your scene. Let me know in the comments if you guys have any other advice on this particular subject. Get in there. The funny thing is, right now, you guys, since I full screen this, I can't see the chat, but I hope that you guys are in there getting active and being seen. This also extends to from local to global. I just want you guys to think of covering all your bases. Also, obviously, we live in this internet age, but do not discredit the power of local community. Obviously, depending on where you live, this can have major implications for what you're doing. I happen to position myself in Los Angeles. Did I move here just for the weather? Although, ironically, it's been downpouring and it's raining right now. No, I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why I moved to LA, but one of the big ones and why I put up with a lot of crap, frankly, of living in LA is purely those serendipitous moments, those chance encounters, and the pure concentration of musicians and music professionals here. Of course, there are other cities around the world that do cater to this, but even if you don't live in a major city like that, if you can't find a scene that's already kind of bubbling and you can't really find a congregation of your like-minded people, that is a humongous opportunity to make one. I can't emphasize the importance, you guys, of being the nucleus of a particular community. If you are the one that brings people together and everyone kind of meets people through that person, tremendous value. Even though you're just facilitating the meeting of other people, that is hugely valuable. And if you could do that on the local level, and trust me, if wherever you are, outside of like a farm in the middle of nowhere, there are people who want to make music and want to get better and want to meet other people. You can somehow be the nucleus, whether it's putting on a local events, concerts, industry meetup, whatever it might be. Try to be the nucleus, the champion of any particular scene. It will pay dividends for you. And of course, this extends all the way to global. This show is, of course, a global show, and I know I'm reaching people mostly within my own network. It's only the second show, and again, shout out to you for joining me on this second show. You will be part of the movement. Now you're at least part of this now in the core group, and like I said, you will be rewarded for that. And this is the big one. This is the huge one. So many people spend time making contact, but they don't make friends. In fact, I was teaching at a school at Icon Collective, actually, and I'll never forget an Australian student. I forgot his name, but he said, someone asked him, like, what do you think about LA? And he said, people spend a lot of time making contact, but no one makes friends out here. Everything's so transactional. I'm like, there's a degree of truth to this. Unfortunately, these stereotypes do exist for a reason. But just to make contact with someone, like many of you are now in the chat, or if you go somewhere and you introduce yourself, you've made contact. They're not your contact in the same breath that you think it is, in terms of like that person. You do got to build rapport. There have been people who I've met within the industry, whether directly through music or through another interest of some kind, and I didn't quote unquote cash in on that relationship or that connection until like years later, because rapport had been built. And we'll talk about shortly some of the best ways to build rapport, but to build an actual friendship, a genuine relationship, one in the spirit of giving and mutual beneficial exchange of resources, is paramount. Okay. If you meet people purely in the sense of what can they do for me, and you act on that stuff first, that's the easiest way to quickly be that person. And I think we all have someone in our own contacts list who, whenever you see their name pop up, you're like, oh, they must want something. You don't want to be that person, believe me. So building rapport, maintaining relationships, and doing so in a genuine way is very powerful. Don't be that person. Oh, this is hilarious. Don't also be that person that does the whole maintaining contact thing and building relationship thing artificially. My fiance sent me, she stopped me. She's like, oh my God, this is so funny. I said, what's going on? Someone she knew like back in college clearly subscribed for one of these like yearly alerts to maintain relationships with your contacts. And she showed me every year, it's like automated on her phone, like at this date, every year, that person sends her the same photo of them two. And something similar to like, oh, I can't believe we did this. Ha ha ha. Hope you're well. Let's catch up. Like every year. It shows on the date every year. I'm like, could you be any more disingenuous? So being seen, Being visible is powerful in any way you possibly can, whether it's physically your face or, of course, just your name in various circles, especially within your scene, thinking locally as well as globally, and of course, trying to be the nucleus and building rapport, building actual relationships, friendships, going beyond asking, what do you do? And talking about just the thing. Try to get to the core of the human being in front of you, the person, not the guitarist, not the producer, not the marketer. Try to get to the core of the person. And that does take time, you guys. If you're sitting there being like, I'm not that social, I don't know how to do this, just get out there and flex those muscles, man. Practice, go through the reps. Do it in a way that's genuine to you. I'm a social fucking butterfly. I can go around and be like, hey, what are you about? That's just me. If you're a little more reserved, you can find your own ways to, at the very least, break the ice, because not everyone's going to come up to you, but at the very least, you got to find a way to introduce yourself and break the ice, but also in a way that you feel comfortable, because also people can feel discomfort pretty quickly. And that's not very comfortable to be around. So you got to do so in a way that's very genuine to you. Okay, I'm going to quickly go to the chat and see how we're looking. I want to see what you guys have to say on this subject. Anything at all. Let's see, James Shen. I'm going to pull you up. All right. It's so hard to read these things sometimes. I met Lorem at I'm going to butcher this now. Mado show? Forgive me, I'm not really in on the scene. A few years ago, now we're best buds and production partners, and he led me to this class. Dope. And I appreciate you, Alorum, for doing that, because we do want as many heads as possible to come in through this exact means, organic relationships. Let's see. We all know those types of James Shen. We all know those types in LA. Yeah, sadly, it's a thing, isn't it? It gets a bad rap, but the beautiful thing is that if you can stand out as a genuine person in a town like LA, people are going to want to hold on to you, I think, that much more tightly. So keep that in mind too. Other ideas you guys have, please throw them in the chat. This is a two-way conversation. I'm going to quickly go back to my little presentation here and ensure that we now get to the second half of it, which is the basic tips, the tricks to ensure your rate of success. So I'm going to pull this up. All right. Oh, I'm going to dip over here. Cool. All right. Let's continue. Saw these already. Forgive me. Okay. The first general strategy when it comes to networking is upgrading your appearance. Now, I don't say this is some superficial way. Trust me, I'm the last superficial kind of guy you'll meet when it comes to brands and like clothing and shit like that. But you do need to at least present yourself as someone who's got their shit together, at the very least, before you try to come off as cool, or edgy, whatever it might be. At least showcase that you have your shit together. And by the way, that could mean, dressing avant-garde, dressing a little quote unquote weird, as long as it showcases that you're intentional and you are not a slob. Upgrading your appearance can have massive effects, especially if you go in a cold room where you don't know anybody. I've found ways to. Sometimes I'll go into a room and I'll purposely wear a piece of clothing that will be a conversation starter. So as many people on this show know, I'm a huge fan of pro wrestling. So sometimes I'll just wear a pro wrestling shirt, but not an obscure pro wrestling shirt, one that everyone knows, a Stone Cold Steve Austin, a Hulk Hogan, something where someone who's trying to break the ice with me, or if I break the ice with them, it's a very clear, obvious talking point. That's one example of upgrading your appearance, not necessarily in a way that's like superficial or flashy per se. You don't need to do that. Or I encourage you guys to at least, if you don't want to be the artist full on, because I've been at events where I've seen people like in the black trench coat, the big dark heavy boots, the eye makeup. I'm like, are you going on stage? Or are we kicking it? Like, I can't really tell. You could go that far if you want. You'll definitely make an impression, but let's at least see an elevated version of you to showcase that you at least have your shit together. Any ideas you guys have about this topic or personal anecdotes you want to share, throw them in the chat now. The next idea around better networking is being objective oriented. So when you do go to an event, ideally you have an idea of who's there, right? You want to get an idea of the types of people you'll be interacting with, and therefore some of the conversations you should be basically preparing for, and even more so, what you intend on getting out of it. Now, again, I'm not saying you got to immediately go for what's in this for me per se, right? But I think a large part of not wasting your time is to kind of get an idea of perhaps what's missing in your current project, what kind of gaps you have in your personal business right now, in your music business, anything at all, whether it's through journaling or just taking basic note before an event, that always works too. But try to be as objective oriented as possible is going to be key in being efficient with your time too. Now, of course, be open to anyone you might meet, you might get introduced to. You never know where a relationship can build. I do believe also in, symbiotic relationships, and also believe in serendipity. I do believe like you might meet someone at the right time. That's just me. But at the same time, you do want to be a little more objective oriented and not just kind of aimlessly walking around the room. Any follow up on that you guys have, please leave in the chat. Having a mental script of some kind. This just goes back to confidence. I feel like if someone asks you, what do you do? Be prepared. As someone who does a lot of shit in this industry, you guys, I legitimately run through my mental script a couple times a week, like legit. Like I'll be in the shower and be like, if someone asks me, what do you do? Because again, in a town like LA, people ask you that left and right. I have the bullet points pretty much mapped down at this point. And also, depending on the room, back to being objective oriented, that I'm going in, I might modify that a little bit. If I'm walking to a room full of musicians, specifically musicians, I might put the emphasis on drumming. Like I'm a drummer, and I work with different people, do session work, et cetera, et cetera. I might put the emphasis on the composition. Maybe marketing will come at the end. If I'm in a room full of other industry professionals, I'll tap into marketing as an initial higher talking point. But definitely having some sort of script. Some might even say having an elevator pitch would help as well. It just instills confidence in yourself. So when that question comes, you're not fumbling. And when you're not fumbling, people notice that shit. People will be like, wow, this guy clearly knows what he's about, or this girl clearly knows what she's doing. So having some sort of something prepared, something that you can kind of reliably go back to whenever you're asked that question, what do you do, what are you about, etc. Having a mental script of some kind can be profoundly helpful. So any feedback on that one, you guys, throw in the chat, please. Qualifying your contacts by asking questions. Yes. So being in a room, you might meet someone say, oh yeah, I make music. And then of course your ears perk. And then you got to kind of qualify real quickly. Like, oh, are you like a hobbyist? Like, do you work at the bank and just play guitar? That's cool. And that's fine to build a friendship. That's totally cool. But I feel like asking questions is the key to qualifying your contacts and kind of figuring out and sussing them out how either legitimate they could be. Beware of the name dropping. It can go one of two ways. If they do so constantly, they are hiding behind something. Keep that in mind. They're propping other people up. They're getting a tan on other people's sunshine, as I heard Talib Kweli say one time. Keep that in mind. But also, if you ask who have you worked with, that's different. If someone says, "Oh, I work with so and so and so and so and so and so," totally fine. But you do need to qualify your contacts by simply asking questions about what they're up to, who they are. And I'm just going to quickly go to the next one here. When you do respond back, you should always contextualize your framing of this potential relationship with some business reasons. Again, you want to start with personal. You definitely don't want to go straight to the business. I've had lunches, you guys, where I've had like a 3-hour lunch, and then literally just talking about all kinds of shit from philosophy to like pop culture, whatever it might be. And then literally after we've paid, like we're signing the bill. All right, so you want to quickly talk about that thing, like, but at that point, the relationship has been solidified. Like we want to help each other because we built a genuine rapport. Back to rapport again. But you do want to always frame your value, whether directly saying it or indirectly insinuating that there is a business reason. But you won't know what those business reasons are unless you follow this one to the core, which is listening more than you talk. If you go into a room, try to figure out what your ratio is by the end of the night, and hopefully it's one that you've spoken the least, because people do feel more connected to you once they've spilled their guts to you, or once you've given them a platform to talk, right? Let them talk. Let it come at you, man. People will feel the fact that you've listened, just listened alone, you've provided some value for them, believe it or not. It's a psychological thing here. So while you're listening to someone, try not to really just have your responses ready. Don't be preparing your responses. Just genuinely listen. And sometimes just like when they're done talking, have that little gap. It's okay to have some silence. That really just shows them like, I'm listening. Oh, you're done. Okay, now now I'll go. I mean, we as creators, especially creative people, creative types, are always seeking to be understood. So the same thing I think also applies in any networking situation. People just want to be understood. They want to be heard. So listen more than you talk. And by listening, you will be able to figure out the three key things when it comes to building relationships. When you listen to someone, try to figure out how you can solve a problem. As they're talking to you, don't think about your response per se, but try to identify a problem of some kind. See if they bring up a problem, or you can steer the conversation with follow up questions that might lead to a problem they're currently experiencing in their professional life. I mean, it could be their personal life too if you really want to play that role, but try to figure out something that you can identify as like, aha, there's a problem there. And then quickly scanning your brain of like, is there any way I can solve that problem? Can I provide a resource? Can I introduce them to someone? Because the key, you guys, to networking really is value. Can you be of value? And to me, the ultimate form of great networking is, can you be of value in that moment? With you don't want to overpromise, obviously, but if you can identify a problem that they have because you've actively listened to them, that's going to be huge for you. That's how you become memorable. And that you don't have to necessarily go in and solve the problem yourself. You can introduce them to someone who potentially might solve that. You can even send them an article when you get home that could address that problem, just to show that you listened and you care about their problems. Always trying to attack their problems first is going to help you have tremendous value. Is there a need they have? Are they missing a team member, or do they, need help with something else? Like something that's definitely a need that you can fulfill. Can you fulfill that need specifically? Whether directly by saying, "Hey, you told me you need this, I can help you out," or indirectly, maybe they miss something. Maybe there's a blind spot that they're not really hearing here. So maybe you could address that need. And of course, catering to a desire of some kind. If you can help them out in any way, solving problems, fulfilling their needs, and catering to their desires, you're going to be so much more memorable. And the relationship will start off on the best foot possible. My personal way of doing this, you guys, and it's never steered me wrong, is I just dump value. Dump value. And I think this stems from my time working in hospitality. I used to work for the Marriott when I was 16 years old. I was parking cars. And aside from having business dynamics on at all times, just that's the way we were trained. We were always trained to constantly just listen and try to quickly identify a problem, fulfill a need, or cater to some kind of desire. And that's kind of kept with me at this point. So whenever I meet anyone of any kind, whether it's a singer, an artist, producer, a marketer, whatever it might be, I'm always thinking like, where's the value? How do I dump value? And to my detriment, this is a lesson that I've learned and I've only recently gotten good at in the last couple of years. Actually, the last year really is sometimes my style is I have to be let in, right? I'll just dump value, and kind of hope you're going to be a good human and reciprocate that value. Although I've definitely learned there are just people who just take. They're just takers. They just accept the fact that everyone else is there to help them and satisfy them, and they don't really intend or care to help back. The squeaky wheel gets the oil is definitely a real thing, but I've noticed it's easier to be squeaky when you've provided so much value. And that's something I've learned in the recent years I've been kind of doing this now, is that I still keep my MO of just dumping value on you in any way I possibly can. And to be known as that guy that's, no matter what, I will go out of my way to help you. Even if it doesn't even directly help me in that moment, I'm always just kind of depositing, I guess, value, karma, good vibes, whatever you want to call it, constantly depositing into this mental bank for whoever I meet of I have helped you. Even though nowadays I know it may not always be reciprocated, but it's up to you then to kind of follow up and follow through, which actually happens to be the next one, to get what you might need in return. But again, I've always held fast that it's so much better and easier if you're the one that provides the value first. And you can't go wrong, you guys, if you're always in this, how can I help you? How can I assist you? Back to my hotel days. I'm always in this, how can I help you? How can I assist you? Subconsciously, whenever I meet someone, I'm always thinking that, how can I solve your problem, fulfill a need, or cater to a desire of some kind? Whether directly I get involved and help you out in that regard, or indirectly, can I introduce you to someone? And part of following up and following through is Once you get home, you text that person. Hopefully you got their number, not just follow them on Instagram. Although that's becoming more par for the course now. Hey, what's yours? Okay, I'll follow you. Send them a DM saying, hey, dude, so great to meet you at blank, and then maybe you remember one thing that they told you. Send them an article. Send them a video, a YouTube video. So ask someone like, hey, dude, I met this guy at this party. Is it cool if I put you in touch? He might need some help with advertising. Put them in touch. So you can really make contact, hence the idea of building contacts. But now, after you've made contact, now we build social capital. How would you build capital? Well, you made contact. You solidified that contact now into your lists of people that you actually know. And how do you immediately begin watering that plant with value? And I think the sooner the better. I feel like if you text that person, message them, hey, dude, great to meet you. By the way, here's an article. This might help you. Let's catch up. Let's get a coffee sometime soon. Right? If you really find that person as high value that you met, you remove them from the general, I guess, way that you've met them, the general group. Yeah, remove them from the group that you've met them through and foster them one-on-one, whether it's a Zoom, take them out for coffee. If you invite, you pay, by the way. Just that's the way it is. Make sure you keep that in mind as well. And try to provide value out the gate somehow, some way. That is how you're going to become memorable in the future. Those are my big ones, you guys. There's, of course, so much more to talk about when it comes to networking and building social capital, but we do need to get to your questions and we do need to get to your music as well today. So I appreciate you guys watching that one. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Maggie says, oh, we met Ramallah when I did a 2-day course. Yes, that was like 3 years ago. I met him when I was giving an ArtistPro lecture right when COVID was happening. Literally, like it was going down. Like it was February. It was February 2020. People were like, you might want to go home. So that whole experience, Maggie, was literally the last remnant of normalcy I remember. Because right when I came home, no one cared a damn about what I did because the world was kind of ending. All right. Let's see. We got a Lauren. Should I buy a Gucci chain? I mean, look, you might attract some people that way. Me personally, you'll unattract me. I don't know. I tend to like not really put too much stock in luxury brands as someone who wears like the Gucci belt. Like, I don't care, dude. Like, you're letting a brand speak for you. And also, like, what are you trying to tell me that like you spent money? Cool, dope. Doesn't impress me. Let's see. We got another one from James Shen. Who's your favorite wrestler? DX for life. Who's my favorite wrestler? Dude, that's a hard one. We are veering off topic, but really quickly, my top 3 would be Bret the Hitman Hart, Shawn Michaels, and oh, this is a hard one. It's interchangeable. I mean, my Mount Rushmore would include guys like Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, because I mean he was huge to the industry. We can talk about that offline. But Bret and Shawn are my 2 big ones. Saison. Clothing conversation starter definitely works. I have worn my light up jacket and it works at the same time. Too much tension with that is a lot at times. Yeah, I know what jacket you're talking about. At the very least, you will stand out. But the cool thing about something like that, as something as brash and bold as that, is that you'll immediately own the floor, Jeff. I feel like if someone's going to look at you like, damn, bro, what's this jacket all about? Like, you're going to own that floor. So the question is, what do you do with that? Do you have your pitch ready? Do you have something ready to go where it's going to really follow up on that interest? Or you can say, oh yeah, I had it made. It was cool. I feel like you've kind of lost the opportunity if you didn't run with that. James Shen says, name dropping is one of the biggest turnoffs for real. Yeah, look, again, there's credibility. You should be able to like own the credibility, but like I've met way too many people who constantly just drop names, and it's the easiest way for me to be like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Meji says the hype here locally seems to be going towards artists who invest in show off more than content actually, which that's the mainstream, which sucks. People who show off more than content. What do you mean by that? Actually, show off in what regard? And Oliver, oh yeah, y'all got to have a list. Yeah, there's lots of different wrestlers. Yes, there's a shit ton of wrestling. Okay, let's jump into your submissions, shall we? I think we're due for that. Let's see. We got a submission from Yuri Allgood. Oh man, I haven't heard that name in a while. If you're in the chat, bro, say what's up. Again, if you're in this chat, thank you for being here. Get seen, be seen. While I pull up some of the music here, we are going to go on first name, first come, first serve base. Is Chris Kane in the building? Is Chris Kane in the building? Oh, Maggie says cars, kind of money. Like, yeah, well, duh. We're visual creatures. Look, by the way, if you get turned off by the superficiality of your scene, take stock of that in the sense that clearly you belong within another subset of that market. Like if you don't want to play that game, don't play that game. Who says you have to play that game? It sounds like you're coming from a place more of depth. Try to lean into what those are. Let's get to the music. If you're in the chat and you submitted a song, let me know. If you're in the chat and you submitted a piece of music, I see some people who are here, but I do want to ensure that I give people a chance who are here, who are joining the chat, dibs, because you guys are here in real time. I appreciate you. I do know that Alurum is in here because we've seen you. Haha, we've seen you. You've been seen. Let's go check out what you got cooking, dude. I'm gonna pull you up in a different tab over here. All right. Don't autoplay yet. Let's see if you submit anything about the song. Okay, Alurum, who is a returning submission. Thank you for doing that. I asked to describe the music project in 2 words. You gave me 3. Dark, moody, groovy. This track has no title. It's a working title, although it's called "Do You Feel It" on SoundCloud. And he said nothing really deep about this one, just something I made last month. All right, cool. Well, why don't we give it a listen? If you're listening to this, hopefully you guys can put your headphones on or put it through your monitors, because especially this kind of music, it bumps. And you would be doing a great disservice if you were not listening to this via headphones or speakers. Oh, that was Randy Savage. Oh, I'm an idiot. Ooh, yeah, you gotta have a list. Yeah, there's lots of different wrestlers. Yeah, take it to the limit, bro. I can do Macho Man. It fucking hurts, but I love the Macho Man. All right, let's do it. Alurum, the track is called "Do You Feel It?" And let's give it a listen and let's get some insight and feedback for our boy over here. Sharing. Here we go. Oh yeah. All right. Do you feel it was the early title, the working title it looks like. I felt it. I felt it. Damn, dude. You said you worked on this a month ago, 1 month ago upload. This and the last one were so consistent. I mean, Alurum. Uh, are you working on an EP? What do you got going on, dude? Because you clearly okay. I think it's safe to say you got the goods. I mean, like, obviously this can go through some mastering, but I thought this worked perfectly. I feel like for the intended audience, which, by the way, we should bring this up. If you're not a DJ producer in the audience here, it's so interesting because you have to. It's almost like a backward style of working, but while you produce music as the DJ producer, you kind of have two audiences in mind. You obviously have you have as a DJ producer, you have the floor to keep in mind. You have to move the floor, but the funny thing is, it may not always be you moving the floor with your music. So therefore, you have to kind of keep in mind the DJs who might play your stuff. So in a way, when you produce music, you're producing B2B for other DJs to use, whether they actually pay for it on Beatport or you just send them the promo, or you're doing B2C because you got to move people. And of course, there's some overlap when the DJ could be part of the community and part of the people that actually like the music. Hopefully, you're a DJ because you like the music too. But it's so interesting. So, Alorum, I know you're in the chat. Can you just quickly tell us in the chat how do you approach that balance? Obviously, there are things like the breaks, the drops that we know are going to move the crowd, but just so all the other DJs and producers can get an insight into your mind, how do you balance keeping a track ready for the floor, all right, for its intended purpose there, but also how do you balance keeping yourself attractive and your tracks attractive to DJs? Because that is the key, right? That is the real core. Because I can listen to that song on SoundCloud while I'm working, whatever, and I might never even look at the artist. But if I'm on the floor and I'm dancing, I'm gonna hopefully find that person's live stream or that set, or I'm gonna listen to that DJ set and try to find that song again. That's the beautiful thing about DJing and being on those floors is sometimes you just don't know what the songs are, and that's kind of what keeps it special. Of course, these days people just Shazam stuff on the floor. I've done it. I'm guilty, but I usually get to the side. I've absolutely Shazammed songs on the dance floor. So yeah, how do you keep that balance, dude? Let's see. Oh, he does say. Let's see. Let's pull it out. Let's pull it. Lorem. All right. Working on a lot of music right now. Gonna go hard on launching my artist project very soon. Okay, so you're building catalog. Totally fine. Let's also see what defined by going hard means. I mean, in terms of, are you going to be releasing songs frequently? Are you going to be DJing, etc.? Other follow-ups to this. I'm a huge fan of the music, but yeah, it's something I really have put a focus on this last year. Yeah, I do know you make multiple genres. You're not just a solo. This is the only thing you make. And then when it comes to the balance, really just seeing what songs like to DJ and copy the arrangement. Yeah, that was actually something a producer gave me as a template, or rather, he said for building templates, finding a song that you really dig, and then throwing it into Ableton or Logic, and then using your markers and literally being like, okay, here's the intro, here's the verse, here's the drop. There's something to be said about that for sure. I mean, following a formula, formulas exist for a reason. I've always felt, I mean, if you guys are in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but I felt that once you put like the canvas on, like this is literally like work within these boundaries. Of course, it helps to limit your potential explorations there because sometimes you'll just be stuck in choice paralysis. But do you feel in a way it kind of prevents you from breaking new ground? Up to you guys to really decide. I don't know. I feel like there might be ways to do both. But it definitely is helpful for anyone struggling with arrangement. I know I've certainly struggled with arrangement before. If you put your favorite song, download it, whatever you got to do, put it into your DAW, and then use your markers and literally like say this and write in your markers intro A B, etc. And then removing that song and then making your own version, your own variant of maybe a similar arranged song, but you'll have basically like the blueprint. You'll basically have the trace, and you just got to fill in the color. And Drew Blyther says, yes, reference tracks are crucial. Yeah, they're crucial for all kinds of reasons. Of course, it's literally like, there's my taste. How do I get it sounding as good as my taste? But from also just an arrangement standpoint, that could also be very, very helpful. But he says, yes, it's absolutely a balance. And Drew, once again, says, big fan of doing both for sure. So we appreciate Alorum for sending us Do You Feel It? I Felt It. Go get it. Go ahead and give him a follow on his socials. He is actually, I think we can pull him up real quick while he's here. If you have not interacted with your boy, let me pull up his Instagram. So we have it here. He's definitely got a vibe. Let's go ahead and share the screen. I'm going to throw you over here. And boom. Allura Music, give him a follow. I follow him through ArtistPro. Hypnotic House, Sexy Techno. We reviewed you last week. So once again, we appreciate you, dude. Okay. If you guys have any other feedback, by the way, I mean, the only feedback I had was just the mastering, but it sounds like it's not quite ready for release yet. But dude, in terms of like DJ usage, ready to go. I mentioned in the chat too that Desert Hearts Black is absolutely a label you should be reaching out to, because this is their shit. This is exactly their style, and hopefully they like you, because then usually the way that works is they'll ask for more music and they'll try to drop an EP if that first single does do well. All right. Who else did we say? Chris Kane's not in the building, but he did submit a track. Let's see again. If you are here and you submitted a song, let me know. If you've not submitted, please go to that QR code or simply go to theartistpro.com and we can hear your music. James Shen, can you explain the mastering, where it's lacking? Yeah, it's almost like, again, we use our ears obviously, and we can't really always articulate like what it's. I guess for me, having worked in electronic music for so long, that I can instantly tell when a song has been exported just through the DAW, even if it's just gone through like Ozone. I just felt like, okay, so give you some more concrete examples here. For the labels that I've been a part of, whenever we sign music from DJ producer types, we usually ask for it unmastered. Sometimes just like a raw mix either. Like sometimes we'll mix in too. But I do know like a label, they will always use the same one or sometimes two people to master all of their music, because a label's audio footprint, there needs to be some kind of consistency. And while I guess like in the olden days, they would have the artists come to their actual studio, use their gear, use their specific stuff to help kind of maintain a consistency. We all know these days people have DAWs and they have their own shit now. So at the very least, the label would usually take care of the mastering, unless the artist was big and they're like, no, I got my own guy, or I do it myself, fine. Or if for whatever reason the artist was very, very insistent that we keep their sound intact through their mastering techniques. But whether it's like the kick, like in my head, hearing that last track, the kick was hitting at like a 7.5 out of 10 intensity. Not to say you should be like bumping your kick EQs all the way up, but no, I can just tell. I got some decent headphones on right now, and I've heard high quality, completely finished, mix and mastered dance music. I listen to it very regularly when I'm working, and I can just tell like there's this layer of like what's a good analogy? Like this, like almost like this plastic wrap that's kind of stopping you from like fully hearing it and experiencing it in its full way. That wasn't a very good analogy, but I feel like the mastering just unlocks that heavy hitting, that clean, very, very clean signal, which this didn't have. But at the same time, again, what you needed is here, the good track. But I've just noticed mastering is typically what really brings it out. And yeah, again, Lorem here says it's the analog gear. Dude, it really is. And we talked about this on the last show. It's not so much, oh, analog's better than digital for every reason. No, we've talked about why digital works, obviously, in better circumstances too. But when it comes to mastering, you can absolutely tell the difference. So that's basically it, dude. I mean, also, if you've never had one of your own songs, like a dance music track specifically mastered by someone who really knows what they're doing with that analog gear, you'll know the difference, man. you can tell pretty quickly. But in terms of the mix sounds like it's all there, but the mastering just needs to bring it out even further. Drew over here says, we run 2 labels and have a separate engineer for each. There you go. We also typically handling the mastering, unless like a Shem said, they are bigger artists with a more specific need with their masters. Yes, so it's also, I really doubt this is just specific unique to dance music, but record labels will try to maintain as much consistency as possible. And of course, there's a value out there, right? If you sign to a label these days, especially, you a large part of the reason would be, aside from the relationships, networking, would be the marketing and promotion of your material. But I think we can all agree that the largest reason why you'd sign with a label right now is to get in with that group, that scene. You want their music to go to your music to go to their audience, people who look and trust, that label as a source of high quality. And part of that quality ensures that it's mastered specifically their way. And of course, it has to be mastered for the dance floor. I think that like people who work at those like big electronic music labels, those engineers, by the way, typically are DJs themselves. In fact, I'm trying to think of an example where that's not the case. Every mastering engineer for all these dance music record labels I worked with, they're all DJs. So it's one thing to have the big, nice, juicy monitors, one thing to have the little tiny mono monitor, one thing to have your AirPods. Do you have access to full function ones? Not to say that they do all the time, but like they know how music sounds in a dance floor and in a club, so they really know how to approach it for those purposes, which again is part of the value add of why you would sign with a label. So keep that in mind. All right, let's go in here. I believe Shenanigans. We got another one from Shenanigans. Let's pull you up over here. Again, we have some other submissions, but again, if you guys are in the chat live, I'm giving you dibs. Just as simple as that. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure about it, but fuck it. All right, word. Let's see what we got here. The track is called Breathe. The project is dark and groovy, 9 to 11 p.m. track slot. Interesting the way you put that there, actually, from 9 to 11. All right, that actually kind of helps. For someone like me, that actually helps in terms of what kind of music I can expect. He says, I wanted to write a track to address the fentanyl crisis and raise awareness to how we can save people with CPR. How interesting. Hence the name of the track, Breathe. Okay, cool. He also submitted a question, so let's go ahead and pull up the track. We're going to share the screen. Shenanigans. Doop, doop. And let me get this out of the way here. All right, here we go. This is Breathe.
into me, his breath in, her breath out, her breath in, his breath out, in, out, breathe life into me, breathe through me, counterintuitive subjects you could possibly talk about. Because normally people don't think about it as we don't think about blinking our eyes, digesting our food. These are not things we think you need to work on. They just occur.
Breathe life into me, into me, into me. In, out, breathe through me. In, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in.
They just occur. Just occur. They just occur.
There we go. Why were you insecure about this one? I'm just trying to figure that out. Actually, I'm really curious to know. Maybe other people can relate to what you're experiencing in your brain, dude. This was good. I do understand how maybe the insecurity could have come from, like maybe the arrangement. Were you insecure about people hearing the sample? I need that first before I go into some of the specific feedback. I need more about what made you feel insecure about it, because I'm insecure. Let's throw that up on the chat. Because I'm an insecure artist. Yeah, I think we all are to a degree. I mean, that's kind of what makes us us in some ways. In fact, yeah, let me just go ahead and pin that. Yeah, the sample. Yeah, I don't know. It's so interesting how you had the real meaning behind it, because I feel like there could have been something else. Okay, look, on its own, the track itself was totally fine. It's gonna do its job. It's gonna move the dance floor. The breathing sample could feel like, yeah, like it's, I want to call it a throwaway, but first, if you didn't have the context, it would just be like any other thing. Like, oh yeah, I'm breathing, I'm on the dance floor. When people are dancing, they are in a hypnotic state, just like straight up. Especially dance music with the continuous, four on the floor kind of rhythms. That's a hypnotic state, and the subliminal messaging that you can inject in people rather is something it's very powerful. So you did not just choose this breathe sample as a way to just kind of like keep the track moving and have that vocal connection. Like there's some meaning there. So I wonder if there's another way you could. It's funny because it's like back to purpose. Like this song could be for the dance floor, but then if you interjected some of the other elements, like you specifically mentioned, the CPR, the fentanyl thing, like how could you do that in a track like this that's not such a downer, because the track is like an upper. It's meant to kind of keep you happy and up and going. But I wonder if through some of your content campaigns, your promotional campaigns, there's a way to talk about this. So, for instance, if you put this track out, I wonder. Okay, here's some ideas. Like, for instance, if you mentioned that you have this upcoming track called Breathe, maybe you have like a video of yourself talking to the camera, explaining, what's happening in your scene and why that's cause for concern. And maybe if you put this track out with either a label or yourself, but you say something like, 50% or all the proceeds of this track will go to a benefit that works with people, or that works to get this drug off the street, or works for CPR awareness, and finding other outlets of people or organizations that do care about this particular subject. If you approach them saying, I made this track specifically in this spirit, that's one way to get some good amplification. Obviously, a PR company would help in that regard, but it's a story. Obviously, people are always kind of looking for the story. Other things you could do, you can maybe even release like an EP or something that's maybe your take on different tracks called Breathe. Like for instance, there's that one telepop music song, Breathe. If you guys remember this one, in fact, I'm just going to pull it up real quick. If you don't know this song, then I feel bad for you. It's a classic. Quickly.
I brought you something close to me, and left with something new.
Maybe like you find other songs that are either literally called Breathe or have elements of breathing. Maybe you do other cool things. Like for instance, instead of like a hi-hat, maybe you get like multiple people to breathe, like and then using sound design, show that in TikTok, show that in an Instagram video. You know what I mean? I feel like it's one thing to be like, oh, it's out now, come check out my track. But if you showed like, check it out, there's actually people are literally breathing into this song. The song itself is breathing now at this point. Other things to kind of demonstrate it, maybe like your LFO effect, your side chain LFO, whatever it might be. You could pump it like just like, but you tell these stories, that you show us, like get multiple people like breathing and show us your skills by chopping those vocal samples and turning them into instruments. So maybe the hi-hats become samples of people breathing. You know what I'm saying? Just shit like that. Because I feel like it's storytelling, and it kind of reinforces what the song is about. And it's also a visual thing. And I know for DJs and producers, that's DJ producers specifically, it's so hard to kind of show what you do, because a lot of it is just like, so, you're not playing an instrument per se, but you are a technical wizard, right? For a lot of people, like your production skills are what's really standing out to them, the thing that they cannot do, the human exceptionalism that we talked about last week. That's your human exceptionalism. So by having that idea of taking people's breaths or pumping the track like that and showing how you're using the theme of breathing, you know, maybe even like the idea of CPR, like CPR has those like violent and aggressive movements, is there a part of your track that could maybe mimic that? Maybe your drop is like boom, 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 boom. Maybe at the exact tempo you're supposed to be doing CPR at. And then you can literally tell people that's the tempo CPR should be done at, to raise awareness and to make it part of the song. See what I'm saying? There's like stuff like that you could be doing to add to the storytelling and adding to the depth of the music, because people, I think, really do respond to story. They always do. And to depth, of course. So keep that in mind. He says he would give 100% of the proceeds if I ever actually made money. Yep. Yeah, man. There are a lot of ways to think. See, hopefully you guys are thinking about this already as a way to build content. Like it's one thing to have like a dope track, but unfortunately we live in this visual world where audio is so secondary. So if you can do things like this, it would be very, very beneficial to you, because you can actually show us that through visuals. So we thank you, James Shenanigans. We appreciate the track. I do really dig the sentiment. That's my immediate feedback. If you guys have any other feedback as well, let him know. Did anyone else submit a song that's currently here? Drew, do you have anything? Did you submit anything? I'm looking at you, Drew. I'm looking at you. You can't see me looking at you, but I'm looking at you. Otherwise, I do want to get to a question. Oh, also, James sent a question as well. My bad, dude. Let me pull this up. And I know Saison sent one as well, too. So I don't want to leave anyone hanging here. All right. Let me pull this up. Or it will. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're good. Okay. Let me pull up the question. Screen share. Okay. Ooh. Fame or followers? I don't know, guys. What do you think? I want to hear from you before I go into it. Oh, did the stream froze? I'm here. Uh-oh. We froze? There's no sound. I know I'm good here. Oh, we're back. Hello, welcome back. I want to hear everyone's opinions on this one. Throw it in here. Do you think a collab is worth it if you're going to do 90% of the work, but the person has more fame and followers? All right, I'll just start going into this, but I do want to hear everyone's feedback. Also, James, if you have any more insight here as to more, by all means, add more details. But it all depends. That's the lawyer question, isn't it? Is it worth it? It all depends. I think every time you go into a collab situation, you do want to consider what the outcomes could look like for both parties. So, if the person has more followers or fame, you might want to qualify that fame and those followers. Look at their past releases. Are they as successful as they should be given the sphere of influence that that person has, right? So you do need to qualify them right off the bat. Just because they have more followers or more, known, you do want to qualify that. Another thing to consider is this too: are they in your lane? Are they in your scene and can reach directly? Like, how directly can they reach your target demographic, right? If you collab with like another producer, and they just simply want to put their name on it, but they're going to get directly out to that next group of people. Are there other ways you can inject yourself into their audience? Could you maybe host a live chat with them? Could you maybe do a piece of content, a video? One thing for sure is like, how do you get your name and hopefully face too in that person's sphere as much as possible? So maybe you can discuss something like, look, we can put this as like a collab, but let's do some content together. Let me get on your gram, that kind of thing. Are they playing shows? Could you open for them? Right? There are other ways to ensure that it's worth it if you just know you can get direct access to their audience. Now, I'm going to read your question one more time. Is it worth it if you're going to do 90% of the work? The person has more fame or followers. So, again, that's just one factor to consider. What's the other 10%? Did they literally lay down like a bass track and like that's it? But I feel like the most of it is like, how much of it is it gonna be worth what's the return? Is it directly a return in terms of exposure? Another thing to keep in mind too, guys, is that if you do release, let's just say you release a song with that artist and they have like, I don't know, 90,000 monthly listeners and you have like 2,000 monthly listeners, and both your names are attached together, that song is going to appear on both your release radars, right? It's going to go out to everyone's audience. So you would hope that your name would be attached there as well. So you want to make sure you have explicit credit, right? Your name literally appears, because then your name's going to pop up on their appears on. It's also going to pop up on your release radar, and that's just going to help you algorithmically to be ensuring you have the same crossover audience, so that Spotify, Apple Music, whoever, they know, all right, this person clearly is around this audience's sphere because they've collaborated with this person. So it helps you algorithmically as well. Another thing to keep in mind, again, man, this is why we need more details here, is like that 90% of the work. Did you spend like 4 months on that? 5 months? Did you spend money? Are you the one paying for mixing and mastering? There's so many other things to kind of keep in mind. Did you just do this shit in like a week? All right, whatever, it's fine. Is it worth it? Generally speaking, it can be worth it, of course, if you can have some kind of follow up, whether it's playing a show with them, opening for them, getting featured on their social media. It's not worth it if they're just going to take the track and barely give you credit, if credit. Which again, if at the very least, you do got to get a mention on the streaming platforms just so the algorithms can start grouping you. It's the same way, you guys, like on your Instagram account or TikTok, you want to follow people in your same sphere, your same scene, because then Instagram, TikTok, or whatever, they'll know to recommend you to people who are like you. You know, it's the same thing. You want to follow accounts that are in your similar scene, similar people, right? Same thing when it comes to streaming. You want to, if you can collab with more data, the more data you give Spotify, the better. So if you literally say, yo, I'm collabing with this person, there's some crossover, they're going to recommend you more. So it is worth it in that regard. So it all just depends. Saison, I think it depends on who the person is. Exactly what I said. Yeah, again, it depends on who they are, what they have to offer. But I wouldn't immediately dismiss it, and I wouldn't immediately jump to it. You just got to qualify what you're getting out of it in return. But yo, thank you for the question, dude. I appreciate you. We're gonna refresh the submissions to see if anything else came in. Okay, let me also pull up Jeff Turner, some Saison over here. And while I do that, Saison, hello. Okay. Let's pull up Jeff Turner. He had a question as well. I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to turn you away. Not you, Jeff, the actual prompt. I think that's the right one. Yep, this is it. Okay. Jeff's question. My social media engagement numbers have decreased since last year. I'm not sure if it is because my content is not interesting enough. I feel that the quality of it is strong. PR team has increased my following. So the issue is your numbers. Okay, overall engagement has decreased. Let's pull it up though. Why are we talking in abstract? So we can just type it up here. Saison. Let's pull it up, shall we? Let's take a look, Jeff Turner. Let's take a look. I am going to pull up Jeff's social. So let's take that down. Let's throw him over here. And again, I love some insights from you guys. This is not a one-man show. All right, here's Jeff's presence. If you guys are not familiar with Saison, I think he actually listed it over here. Futuristic synthwave, melodic EDM, dubstep. Very, very good stuff. If you're into the synth punk kind of vibe, you know, you're going to really dig this brand. So let's take a look at his engagement. So he said his engagement is down. Let's just start there. A couple of things to kind of keep in mind. You do need to stay up on what Instagram and TikTok are favoring at any kind of given moment. Peace out, Drew. Thanks for stopping by the stream. You do need to keep up with what they're doing because right now, for instance, Instagram and TikTok especially, they are favoring very, very, very short form content. Jordy, hello, Jordy. Thank you for joining. Thank you for stopping by. It'd be nice to have you submit a song one of these days. We can listen to it. Maybe I'll submit the song that he and I worked on together. Spoiler, perhaps. Okay. So right now, Instagram in particular is favoring very, very, very short videos. Very short, vertically shot reels in particular. So do we have any very, very short vertical reels? I mean, that was a short vertical reel. Let's take a look. What else we got here?
And then this glitch bass, pretty much the same from the vocal. That was before the drop. It's just pitched up in 3 octaves.
Okay, so tutorial stuff over here. Cryptic teasing content. Why is it always pizza time? promo stuff, which of course is, needed.
I'm going to show you how to make a laser synth melody sound for my new dubstep song Tech, coming out very soon.
So this is the sound. And this is the synthesizer. All right, a lot of tutorial stuff. Yeah, man. I mean, in many ways, you are following the rules per se, right? You're doing the things. But I'm trying to look at your proportions here. So, one thing to consider, you have nearly 9,000 followers. So the PR company helped build your followers. How did they help build the followers? Do you mind giving us some insight on that? Because, if they went to, say, get them in less than reputable means, it would make sense why your numbers are down, because Instagram's only going to send your stuff out to a certain group of people anyway. And if your sample size is full of people who may not be that engaged with you or don't organically know you and follow you and love you, you're going to get lower engagement just naturally. So would you mind just telling us how they increased your numbers? Because if you see your likes and engagements are still relatively proportional, right? 25, 3, 21, 32, 26, 12, 1. That one did not do so well. 17, 2. Well, I mean, there's a few different ways here. I think the key these days, especially, is obviously finding your niche, which you have here, right? You've kind of identified the synthwave thing, but maybe you're speaking a little bit too much to other producers, right? You want to attract other just strangers, fans, people who don't know you so much, right? Marketing to hashtags. People. Okay, let me just pull this up. He says marketing to hashtags and people follow through with the hashtag that they choose. Yeah. Oh, and he says another one here. They use software platform for it, and people on Instagram to follow. Yeah, but again, like it's just not. It's not always a guarantee that they found you compelling. I feel like in many ways, a lot of these accounts exist to give PR companies like that good metrics, but they're oftentimes not real accounts. Like how many DMs do you get? How many comments do you get? That's obviously way more telling. To have 9,000 followers and one comment, that's definitely a cause for concern. I'm not gonna insinuate that they're doing anything shady, but I'm just keeping it straight up with you, man. Like, you have 9,000 people and one person commented? I don't know. I feel like, ironically, Jeff, a purge might do you better right now. I feel like, and I know it sucks to hear that because you spent money and you have like these good impressions here in terms of like 9,000 people, but like, I feel like, ironically, if you spent money to clean your socials from bots, you'll have a better sample size of actual humans who followed you for organic, compelling reasons, and you'll reach them more easily. So finding your niche is always like the most important thing, and you've done that, right? Hashtagging is very, very important, but I really do feel maybe your content is a little too geared towards other producers. Like, look, I mean, does the average fan care about serum and plugins and shit? I don't think they do. Finding other ways to make yourself compelling to the average schmuck is going to do you a lot more good here. But you do have high quality. That's important. Do you incentivize engagement? Like, do you post other people using your music? Do you incentivize people to chime in? Do you use a trending challenge? And I know you hate hearing that. I hate hearing that sometimes, but like, they're trending for a reason. So getting involved with that is obviously very, very important. But hey, you're keeping your things relatively short and sweet. The shorter the videos are these days, the better, obviously. But it's definitely something you want to consider, because I think you're not reaching enough people organically. This is wrong, just straight up. Like, this doesn't appear correct to me. I get more engagement out of Rizik, my personal music project, and I have like 600 followers. But I'd rather have 600 people and reach them organically than 9,000 and reach like 10 people who are actually really there. So keep that in mind. Another thing I would also say, Jeff, is I think you're going after one group of people, but you're marketing to another. Does that make sense? Like, you're going after like fans of this type of music, but maybe you're keeping it a little too focused on other producers. So that's what I would say that. I would say your engagement's down because they've inflated your numbers, not good, and you're catering towards producers at this point. So there you have it. Any other feedback for Jeff? Let us know in the comments. And actually, while we're here, I think it's also worth playing some of his music because he's quite good. Oh, 3 days ago. Jeff, you have something that came out 3 days ago on your SoundCloud, anyway. I'm going to pull up the song called The Future. Let's give it a listen. And if you're into Jeff's music, make sure you do follow him on Instagram, connect with him here. He's a very, very good dude that makes good tunes. So let's go ahead and pull up the track called The Future from 3 days ago. Back to the Future. My God. I mean, there is no denying that, like, you got the goods, dude. I am always so impressed when I hear your stuff, Jeff. Saison, dude. I mean, look at the chat. We got some goddamn great reactions here. I did also just forward that song to a few friends. But man, that's something to consider too. Like, we talk about this issue of like, why is my engagement down? Like, what's gonna get you further? Posting all the time, and hoping a bunch of like random strangers find your stuff and follow along, or spending more time to foster relationships and build that network, like we talked about at the very top of this episode. I feel like having the right rapport with the right people will go so much further than just aimlessly, hopelessly posting, man. I think the name of the game for you, man, is to collab You just got to start collabing. In fact, who wants to collab with Jeff? In the chat, let him know, man. Because I feel like you would have so many other things to offer if you brought your sound style, dude, not just to your genre, but like find people in other genres and showcase like how you could elevate that style, elevate their genre. I feel like you've done enough of making high quality music and posting. I feel like someone in Jeff's position would benefit more from building community and collabing and getting seen in other circles. And that's like the most potent thing I can say, man, because your music is so there. It's so there, man. So please follow Jeff at Sizon and let him know that you want to collab and or just work on something. You know, even if you think you're not in his genre. By the way, this goes for everybody. Like, if you think someone's like not quite your genre, isn't that kind of more reason to collab? Like, holy shit, the kinds of things that might come out of that. I don't think people are craving and waiting for more of the same. I think we're craving and waiting for something new. And Jeff's sound is very much that futuristic, electronic, heavy production. Imagine if he collaborated with someone who's more on the acoustic end, or maybe like the Alorums and the Shenanigans collab with someone like a Jeff. Like the kind of sound design wizardry we would get would be out of this fucking world, man. So I really, really do like your stuff, man. But I feel like you're done posting to nobody. You're done posting to or getting PR help that's only inflating your numbers. I feel like the name of the game for someone like you is to start meeting other folks and just start connecting with other people, man. That's the key for someone like you. And then you already got James Shen, you got Oliver Blue, everyone's down here. So make sure you guys connect on Instagram. If you've not already done so, follow each other, collab, connect, spread the word about each other, and spread the word about the show. Again, if you guys would be massive supporting the show, there's the QR code. James Shen, also shout out to him for dropping another $20 bomb. I appreciate you, dude. You are helping cover the cost of this show. But again, if you guys cannot financially support the show, all good, totally fine. Tell a friend, let them know Wednesday or Monday. Look at me, I don't even know the day of the show. Mondays. Let them know that Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific time, we go over a myriad of different topics. I think this time, this week, stay tuned. If you don't already follow me at my socials, make sure that you do that, because I'm going to ask you guys what topics you want. I only picked networking because someone asked me about it previously, and I felt like I needed to cover it because why answer someone directly in a DM when I can just talk to everyone here publicly? Plus, I have so much stuff, you guys. So if you don't know, Artist Pro was an actual curriculum, an actual course that I'm gonna still put together at some point and offer to you guys. I don't know how I'm gonna do that, which model I'm gonna follow, but I will. So I have all kinds of materials that I can be pulling from. So keep that in mind. If you've not already followed me there, please follow me there. And I'm also there for Artist Pro specifically. Yeah, if you have any questions or any topics you guys want me to cover, please send them to me. I'm happy to go into depth, especially for the crew here, especially for this limited crew here. I know it's not a lot of people, but this is my crew. You guys are the early adopters. I'm going to make sure to super serve the same way I would expect you guys as music artists. If you have people who are your early fans, super serve them. They're taking a chance on you, just like the way you're taking a chance on me right now. Obviously, I want the show to grow so we can bring in more heads, invite more guests to join us here. But the fact that you guys are here, hopefully tuning in every week, I'm going to super serve you. So please let me know what you want me to cover, and I'll be happy to do that. Just make sure you follow me along there so I can pull you guys and pull the audience for what topics you want covered. I think we're going to wrap the stream here today, you guys. Again, I just want to make sure that you know to tune in every Monday here, 11 o'clock. Submit your music, tell a homie, tell two homies, connect with each other. Hopefully you guys picked up something from this networking conversation. And if you did, just let me know, send me a message. Let me know what you picked up as the strongest point that you learned. In fact, if you can message me what you learned, that'd be really appreciated, because then I can post it and showcase to other people, like we talked about last week, social proof, right? I think seeing is believing. So let me know if you guys have any other topics for me to cover. We will be back next week to talk more about your music, and I'll let you guys know at the end of this week what the next topic of discussion is. In the meantime, happy music making. Join us next week, connect with each other, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Laters.